Hello, good morning, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Bianca and I'm a content strategist and creator. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're getting up close and personal and telling you all the tea. How I got to where I am today and all the twists and turns that came with it. This is to really show you that you can try again. You can start over, and once you get to the place where you want to be, you'll realize that all of those things that you've tried are actually beneficial to what you are currently doing today, which is the same thing that happened to me personally. So let's go back in time and tell you a little bit more about when I was working in the fashion industry. So back when I was a preteen, or whenever this love of fashion came about, probably at birth, I was really into fashion and everything that had to do with it. If my whole personality could be 17 magazine as a preteen, that was pretty much me. Like, I wanted to be every girl on 17 magazine. I wanted to know all the trends. I would wait for 17 magazine to come through the mail and read it religiously, and it was just how I came about to love the fashion industry. I would write to the editor-in-chief and I would tell her that I would want to work for a magazine someday. That should have hinted at the idea that I wanted to do content rather than just fashion specific things, but I digress. Basically, when I finished high school, I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go in terms of college and, pursue further education. And there was this specific program near my hometown, and it was basically fashion marketing. Now, I wasn't really sure if I wanted to go there because I went to an English school throughout my whole elementary and high school experience, and this was a private French school. Thanks to my parents, thank God for them, that they pushed me into saying, you know what, it's gonna be a little bit harder, you're gonna get out of your comfort zone, but I know that this is something that you really wanted to do. So I did a 3-year program in fashion marketing, and then I jumped right into the fashion industry after that. So there I was, my 19-year-old self, just finishing college, moving out of my parents' place and starting my fashion industry journey for the first time. It was a lot of change all at once, to say the least. I was extremely shy. I was uncomfortable. I didn't know how to go about it, but luckily my first job into the fashion industry was such a blessing. Everyone that I worked with was absolutely incredible. If there was a camera at my interview at my first job, which was a wholesaler and brand, they would sell to different retail stores across the US and Canada. And bless them, because if there was a camera in that interview process, it would have been so cringe. I was extremely shy. You can see that I was extremely uncomfortable, and my boss just saw it, that I was dedicated, that I was responsible. I really wanted to learn. That's how she picked me, because there were probably people that were way more qualified than I was, but she picked me, and I am so thankful for that. And I started my fashion industry journey. So what they don't tell you about the fashion industry is that it's really fun when you get to, create a collection and, go to trade shows and do all of that fun stuff. But probably 80% of your work is admin work or sales. And as I mentioned previously, I was a very shy young woman. And so sales was not something that I was naturally inclined per se. And so I had to really work hard on it. I absolutely do love doing admin stuff. So most of it was admin, doing the little details, the little nitty-gritty things to be able to, during the season, go to trade shows, sell the collection, make the collection, find the trends, all of that good, fun, creative stuff. So I worked at my first fashion job for almost 3 years in Montreal. It was such an amazing experience. It really shaped me as a young woman into adulthood. It was the whole transition for me, and so it was a lot to say the least. I was living by myself. It was the first time that I was living on my own, and so that was really difficult. I feel like if I were to live on my own now, I would have less of a problem because I know more who I am. Basically, all I had was my job to get through the day. When your only thing that's going for you day to day as your job, it does kind of hurt mentally and physically. I would go, weekends and weekends of just either going to my parents' place or sleeping in and being in bed all weekend. But I knew that eventually it was my time to leave this first fashion job and go to where I really wanted to go, which was Toronto, to be with my current boyfriend and to live the Toronto experience. Now, this is the part where I come to how my time in the fashion industry crumbled and ended. Basically, I went to Toronto and I found a job that was fairly similar to what I was doing in Montreal, but it was more on the agency side. So if you know a little bit about wholesale, is that there are brands that sell to stores and they work with different agencies from different states and provinces to help sell their collections. So I was on the brand side where we kind of had control of which agency we worked with, we had control of the whole collection, and we had control of the creative process. And when I moved to Toronto, I went to more of an agency side where it was all sales, which should have been a red flag for me because sales is not where I particularly excel. Now I see sales a lot differently than when I used to. I always thought sales were uncomfortable. I always thought sales were inauthentic and icky. But if you truly love the product, or if you truly believe in what you're selling, you're gonna just tell them about how great it is, and you're not really gonna have to explain and like mooch people off or like annoy them, you know what I mean? So it's a different experience. Ultimately, when I started working at that agency, I lost a lot of my confidence. I knew that with working with different people who were always on the go and always wanting more, it really dawned on me that I needed somewhere that was more people-oriented. I needed somewhere that really cared more about the person than the profit. Now, I know that having a company, you need to make money. In the end, if your people aren't happy, you're just going to be spending more and more money because there are so many people walking in and walking out that door. So in the end, you are losing money if you aren't prioritizing wellness, prioritizing well-being of your employees. And unfortunately, I know a lot of companies in the fashion industry that are like this. Many companies that are starting right now have a different mindset. In the end, when I left my job at the fashion industry, I ultimately pivoted and went towards the banking industry and wanted to just completely start over and start something fresh. Did I feel like a failure? Yes. Did I feel like everything that I worked up towards was lost at that point? Yes. Did I feel like I just wasn't strong enough for the fashion industry? Yes, I felt all of those things, but I knew that I needed something new. I needed something that would help my mental health in the end. So when I was in the banking industry, I was an administrative assistant, and it helped me learn about communication skills. It helped me learn about organization, about leadership. When you're in a job where you're not necessarily passionate about it, it is always great to bring in your skills to the specific job that you're in. It's always making the best of your situation. For example, when I was in the banking industry, I really wanted to bring out my content and my communication side, and so I decided to create a newsletter for the entire floor, and I would get people to send me their recipes, send me what they were up to on the weekend, send me really anything that they would chat about over coffee or whatever. And during the pandemic, I created this newsletter so that people can stay connected and that people can see what others are up to. And it was really to help morale and to help the communication side, but it was also helpful for me because that's what I truly liked doing and that I truly enjoyed doing. Incorporating those little things into a job that you're not necessarily like, you're not necessarily passionate about, but you know that it's good for you and you know that you can learn from. Little things like that could be really, really great. Last year, I knew that a new chapter was beginning, and I finally had the courage to start my own business. This is something that I've always wanted to do, and those little stepping stones of creativity in the fashion industry, of leadership in the banking industry, of financial literacy, I was finally capable of saying to myself, okay, like I can do this, I can start my business, I can do all the things that I want to do and incorporate all of the knowledge and all of the skills that I've acquired throughout all these years. So in the end, it is really important to say to yourself, you can start over and start in a new industry, and you can pivot towards another type of work. Everything that you've done previous to that, nothing is lost. So that was a little bit about me. That was my little tidbit and lesson of the day. If you want to hear more about this, or you're interested in more work-related content, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!